next guest played the part of Tommy Beresford in the 1983 TV adaptations of the short stories of Agatha Christie's Partners in Crime, which followed the adventures and exploits of the husband and wife team, Tommy and Tuppence, who run a detective agency. Please welcome James Warwick, who has joined us today to discuss that role. Hi there, James. How are you doing?
Very, very well, thank you. Safe and sound, locked down in the middle of the country in the middle of Massachusetts.
Wow. Okay.
Not a bad place to be, I have to tell you. It's actually a beautiful sunny day today, although we did have a tornado warning last night. So I've had a fairly sleepless night, but apart from that, we're fine.
Well, I'm glad you were able to make it here. We're doing a short series of conversations around Agatha Christie, which is lovely Sunday afternoon viewing for us in the UK. So we'd just like to have a little chat with you about your time on Partners in Crime. How aware of you first off of the short stories were you before you shot the series? Were you aware of them at all?
No. And in fact, they weren't the first choice. What happened was that I'd played Shuggie de Bath, Lily Langtry's second husband, in the series called Lily, made by London Weekend Television. And the producers in America, the American partners, he happened to be, bless him, he was the head of Mobil Oil Artistic Division, if you can imagine such a thing. He was a wonderful man. His name was Herb Schmertz. And Herb Schmertz thought that the relationship between me and Francesca, me playing her second husband, Shuggie de Bath, in Lily, he liked the relationship, apparently. He told Michael Grade this. He said, I like those two together. Get them a series. So Michael Grade called my agent, who happened to be Francesca's agent, Dennis Selinger, who was known as the Silver Fox. And he sniffed something pretty exciting. So Michael Grade and Dennis Selinger and the various people at London Weekend did some ferreting around. Foxy's ferrets, you know, is wonderful, sort of animalistic part of this. They found these short stories by Agatha Christie. They hadn't been done before. Tommy and Tuppence were the main characters, but they started in another book. They started in Why Didn't They Ask Evans, which we'd already done. We'd done that after Lily. We then did this film, Why Didn't They Ask Him? And Michael Grade liked that even more. So it looked like we may do these Partners in Crime short stories, but there was Nick and Nora. We'd maybe go back to Nick and Nora Giles, do them. He wanted a married couple, sort of heart to heart. That was the thing. And then when Michael Grade and Herb Schmertz told Dennis Selinger that we were going to make this series called, it was going to be called Tommy and Tuppence. And Dennis Selinger phoned Francesca Annis. I promise you this is true. Phoned Francesca Annis, and he said, you've been offered Tuppence Beresford in a series called Partners in Crime with James Warwick. She went, I can't play something called Tuppence. And he said, are you sure? No, I can't. I'm not going to do that, Dennis. I've just done Madame Bovary and I've done Lady Macbeth in the film with Roman Polanski. I couldn't possibly, Juliet with Ian McKellen, I couldn't possibly play somebody called Tuppence. And God, I haven't thought about this for 30 years. And so Dennis Selinger phoned me and he said, I've told Francesca that Herb Schmertz says that he's going to give her a lot of hats and a lot of money and she'll get top billing. Well, oh, Francesca, you'll kill me when you hear this. So it was called Tommy and Tuppence instead of Tuppence and Tommy. Or was it the other way around? Anyway, I can't remember. But
Tommy and Tuppence.
We had an awful lot of hats, and I had an awful lot of suits. 35 suits I had made. God knows how many hats she had. I mean, they were all incredible. And that is the true story of how we started Partners in Crime.
Wow. And that is some story. At start off, did you know it was going to be a series, or Because it originally was just done as a standalone, wasn't it? Or as a sort of an intro to the series?
Well, we introed a series where I think from Why Didn't They Ask Evans? We weren't married. They were Tommy and Tuppence, but we weren't married in that one. And then we did a film called The Secret Adversary with John Gielgud, Sir John Gielgud played my father, and Harry Andrews and various people, and Alec McCowan, sorry, Ian, Alec McCowan, and who was a great friend. I'd done that play with him in the West End. So we did this film over about 3 or 4 months, and that launched the series of short stories. There were only 10 short stories. And the head writer at London Weekend, Pat Sands, started adapting and then giving them out to other people to adapt for a television script, for an hour-long television script. But some of them were only about 5 or 6 pages long. So we did a lot of, let's say, improvisation. There was a lot of us in it. I suppose there is with any actor in any part. But it was, Francesca and I worked together. She had a couple of children when we first started. No, she didn't have any children when we first started working together. By the time we finished, she'd had 3. Nothing to do with me. And so we worked together for a long time. And I do think that the relationship between us is probably what made it what it was. We'd known each other in Lily for 4 years before. We had a sort of rapport. I adore this woman. I think she's one of the nicest, funniest, most talented actors I've worked with. And I was sort of in awe of her because her television technique, her understanding of that camera and how little she could do. Here's me wiggling around and raising my eyebrows and doing all those sorts of things. But she would do almost nothing and be twice as effective. And I used to watch her and I think, good Lord, you're not doing anything. But she was, but it was so disciplined and thought through and internalized and refined and defined to the most simple and most effective way that she could deliver a line. Plus the fact she's one of the most beautiful women in the world. I would go to, makeup in wherever we were filming. Sometimes at London Weekend on the South Bank. We were in the next studio to Jill Gascoigne, bless her heart, who just died last week. We were very, very, very upset to hear that. Yeah. Jill played, the lead in The Gentle Touch and all those wonderful series. And she died last week. We were very, her husband Alfred was, God, what a rock he was. Anyway, we were in London Weekend Television or out, and the car would come up, and we had a car between us. Dennis didn't manage to get a car. We had a car between us. Dennis said, I'll get you a nice car, love. So we had this nice car come and pick us up, and at 5:36 in the morning, and we both come out of the house looking like death warmed up. It was like, and we get in the car, and we drive to the makeup caravan, and I would take maybe 10 minutes. I think I had a little powder on my nose because I always had a rather red nose. I think it was from too much white wine. But there was this sort of, so we had to do that. And then sometimes, if I was very, very lucky, Pauline was my makeup. She remembered to do a little tiny thin eyeliner, which nobody could see and made no difference at all. And of course, I had to have my hair cut on a regular basis. Every episode, I would have another even shorter haircut. Anyway, I would come out in 10 minutes, and an hour and a half later, this completely transformed goddess would appear, come down the steps and go, "Hi, James, are we ready? Is everybody here? Are we ready?" And I go, "You are the most beautiful woman in the Western world." And I never got over that.
The chemistry between you on screen is there to be seen anyway, isn't it? And I think it's great when you're working with somebody who you know well, you trust in a part like that. I think you can have some fun with it as well, can't you?
Oh, we had so much fun. I mean, almost ridiculous amount of fun. It was a lot to learn. All those lines, sometimes would have 2 weeks to do an episode. Sometimes would have less than 10 days. It depended on the turnaround and who was available before what. And the casting director, Corin Rodriguez, was absolutely brilliant. If she ever watches any of these, I don't know whether she would, I'd just say hello to Corin Rodriguez, because what a, it isn't just to do with the lead, the leading roles, it's all the other parts. And she found this young actor called Rhys Dinsdale, who played the office boy, Albert. Rhys Dinsdale is now playing the lead in a play at the National, opening this week. I saw it in the paper. So she was brilliant at spotting young talent and bringing in people who had a terrific name already, but was so right, added so much to this series. You watch some of that acting, you Dulcie Gray and Graham Crowden and Harry Andrews, and that, it was an extraordinary cast. I don't think you get that together today. Well, you certainly wouldn't now, of course.
No,
we can't do that on Zoom.
I'll give it a go.
No, right. I direct plays now. I do a lot of directing around Massachusetts, and I'm a sort of regular director at a company called Shakespeare and Company in Lenox in Western Massachusetts, the Berkshires. And I had a production which I was supposed to start actually next week to open the summer season, called Lifespan of a Fact. It's a brilliant new play, and it was done in New York, and it's about fake news. So it couldn't be more. I like thought-provoking, language-driven plays. So I was all ready to go. I cast it. I'd done it. I was really excited, but we couldn't even get it together to do it on Zoom. Actually, one of the cast got the COVID virus, and we decided to postpone that with the rest of the season until such time as maybe we could start in the fall. Well, we're not going to start in the fall. No theatre around here. There are 5 producing theatres, and Tanglewood, the home of the Boston Symphony Orchestra, has cancelled their season. 138,000 people had bought tickets for concerts in the summer at Tanglewood with Boston Symphony. It's like a sort of tradition around here. James Taylor does the July the 4th concert. It's an extraordinary event, huge lawns, and people come from all over the world. That's cancelled. Jacob's Pillow has cancelled. 5 producing theatres around here, which is why I live in the middle of the 6, because actually it's what they call the #1 cultural resort in America. That was a bad accent. I'll do that again. #1 cultural resort in America. No, that wasn't very good. Anyway, I haven't lost my English accent.
It is quite devastating for the arts, for sure. And we'll have the same in the UK. We won't have theatre, I don't think, until next year at this rate. Although they want to try and drag us out of lockdown, I still think there will be some things we won't be able to have, and that's theatre. And I feel very much for the techs and and all the performers and the artists and the musicians who right now are struggling a little bit. It's fair to say.
Well, the performing arts rely on a sort of food bank of individual contractors, if you like, which includes actors and designers and directors and the tech people and sound and light. I love working with tech because it's something as an actor that I never really, I thought, oh, well, I don't really understand any of this. But now I do, because I work with designers and sound and light and set. It's fascinating for me to put together, having been an actor for 30 odd years, then to go in and direct other actors, but working with all these wonderful technicians. We don't have that. We can't have that rapport. You and I can talk on Zoom till the cows come home, but come on, it's not the same, Jason, is it?
No, it's not.
We had a lovely conversation in London only a year or so ago, wasn't it?
That's right.
One of the Doctor Who conventions, but yeah, it's tough. It's very, very tough for everybody.
And a return to some normality at some point would be very, very welcome, I think, for all of us.
Yes.
Yes. What would you say your standout memory would have been of the series?
standout memory.
Any one particular thing?
Well, there were a lot actually, but there was one moment when I was lying in bed. For some reason, I had a terrible cold, and the scene was about me and John Gielgud playing my father. He was the vicar, and I was his son, and I played the organ. I had to learn how to play the organ. I actually did play the organ, and then he interrupted me and stole the whole scene. It was ridiculous. Anyway, this scene, I'm lying in on the sofa, I think. I'm lying, and I'm going like that all the way through. And this quite clearly irritates Sir John. And he said to the director, Tony Morby, he said, Tony, could I just perhaps say, God bless you to James, and then that's the end of the scene. And Tony Morby said, no, he said, we've got to get to the end. And really, the last shot will be James, just having a little sneeze. That would work, John. I promise you it would work. Oh, well, it's a very poor scene for me, he said. So off he went, and he was a bit pissed off. So we decided to go for the scene, and we'd do my last shot, which was just like that. And it was a close-up. We go through the whole scene. We get to like that. And just behind my head is John Gielgud saying, Gesundheit. That was, I can't predict what another actor is going to do. But in the case of Sir John Gielgud, he was always up to some mischief. And you just knew it was coming, and then, of course, I just burst into laughter, and I can't, we had to do the whole damn thing again.
I think you can forgive him for it as well, can't you?
Absolutely. Another wonderful man, another wonderful actor. Yeah.
Indeed. James, it's been lovely talking to you again. Next time, please, let us be face to face and having a proper conversation in person. Fingers crossed, hopefully that'll be sometime soon.
Yes.
Appreciate your time. Ladies and gentlemen, James Warwick, thank you very much.
Keep well, everybody. Keep safe. Bye.